Yeah, so what we are saying is that to operate from that lovingness, what is how to practice that, or how to be more and more of that. The challenge is always that there are triggers which grab us, and then we react to those triggers with either aversion or craving, and that is where we become convinced that the trigger is the source of the love, or the source of the opposite of love which we are experiencing in that moment, let's say anger. So we become convinced that the trigger is the source. So in reality, the trigger is just the trigger. It is not the source. The source is within us, the anger is within us, the love is also within us. And we choose, if we are operating out of the separate self, which is either averse to or craves for whatever is happening out there, whether in the form of an object or an interaction or a relationship or a person or circumstance or situation or whatever, it is our reaction to that which causes, which induces this craving or aversion, and then we react to that craving and aversion either with love or with hate or anger, let's say. uh, so the so the how to make lovingness, which is our true self, more present, can happen only if we are able to operate not out of this separate self model, which is a typical pathway: trigger, craving, aversion, hate slash love, which is also hate slash love or anger slash love, coming from the separate self. It is not the universal love or the universal openness or divine okayness. It's not at that level anyway. Even that love which is triggered is a limited conditional kind of love, which is now dependent on this trigger. And as soon as the trigger disappears or changes, that love can quickly transform into hate or anger or disappointment or regret and all those things. Whereas the universal love which we are, which is lovingness itself, is not dependent on any trigger and is not transformable or changeable into anything else. It is just pristine love without any other properties of changeability. It is simply universal and eternal. So, to be able to experience more and more of that, the only way to do that is to presence the true self at the door when the trigger shows up, rather than presenting or presencing the separate self, which has no other choice but out of habit to go into this chain of activity. The only way out is when the true self, which is transparent, open, welcoming, non-judgmental, and completely okay with all that there is, because it is completely established in knowing that nothing can pierce me, nothing can change me, nothing can hurt me, nothing can wet me, nothing can make me greater, nothing can make me better. Because the craving comes from the thought that somehow this is going to make me greater or make me better or make me feel more, which are all properties of the contracted or the separate self. The true infinite self, there is no more for it to be. It is already all there is. It cannot be greater than what it already is, because it is infinite greatness itself. So for that self, when that self is present, when the positive trigger shows up, this complete knowing and as being established in knowing that this positive trigger cannot make me anything more than what I already am, it is therefore available to simply embrace that positive uh, trigger, be one with that experience, express lovingness towards that trigger which has showed up, let's say positive for now, and simply experience it, and simply move on. There is no reaction, there is no craving for more of it, there is nothing that says, oh, this could have been a little better, a little different, little more. And there's no concern about whether it will be there tomorrow, whether it will be there more for me, and whether it is true or not. None of those questions arise when it is the true self which is greeting that positive trigger. It simply accepts it for in the now for what it is, accepts it, embraces it, and is pristine and untouched in that next moment for whatever comes up. And let's say what comes up next is a negative trigger. So the negative trigger that comes up also is greeted at the door by the true and only self that there is. And what that negative and what and again it is completely established in nainam chindanti shastrani, nothing pierces me. So this negative trigger simply is also accepted and welcomed and celebrated and seen for what it is. Let's say it's something mean that somebody says or does to you, and you simply look at it for what it is, and you know that this meanness does not change you in any way. It does not affect you in any way. It does not make you any less than what you are, because you are all of it, including this meanness. It does not change you in any way. Therefore it does not have any power, or it does not have any charge on it. And therefore you simply accept, embrace, celebrate, cherish even this meanness trigger that has showed up, and it passes through you just like the positive trigger passed through you, without questions of, oh, is this meanness going to be there ever and ever? Is this meanness going to be even more tomorrow? Why is this meanness there? All these questions drop away and are meaningless in the presence of true self. And therefore, you can simply accept it and take it for what it is. And no matter what it is, in the ocean of the true self and the infinite self that you are, it is simply nothing. It is just one more experience, just one more thought, just one more bubble that has no charge, no power, no nothing. It just comes and passes through you without any of that. And there you are again. And what you're expressing is again lovingness, because accepting is actually the definition of love. So you accept that meanness or accept that negative trigger, which is truly an expression of lovingness. So so in either case, what we are able to presence is lovingness, and that's all there is to it. And so what is the sadhana? The sadhana is only to keep on practicing getting the separate self away from the door and presencing ourself at the door.
Always the presence of the higher self should be there, so
Right.
that there's that is only there to greet.
That is only there to greet. Whatever comes, it's only the true self is available. And so the separate self is not available to either crave or reject or push away. And also we be mindful that this is not coming from some sort of a hidden agenda which says that somehow by doing this, I'm
Yeah,
going to eliminate negative triggers in my life and only have positive triggers or something like that.
yeah.
Because that agenda is never the agenda of the true self anyway. The true self has no agenda at all. There is no agenda. So so in fact, so if we in the back of our mind are saying to ourselves that, oh, by doing this practice I am going to eliminate negative triggers and all negative triggers are going to become positive, and so on and so on, what you are doing is revealing that hidden agenda that you're bringing to the door to begin with. And that is not the true self. The true self does not have any such agenda. It does not have any judgment on what is. It simply is okay and open with what is, no matter what it is.
Yeah. So do you think, one question can I ask you, or am I?
Yeah,
So do you think, in this all this religion books and all what is written, you must do 5 times namaz, 5 times kasti in our Parsi religion. So maybe all those rituals are there just so that we realign and realign to our higher self. So that,
yeah,
instead of just
absolutely.
doing things absolutely just in a ritual way, the whole process is to realign yourself to the higher self all the time so that that's what we bring forth
Exactly.
in every
And
situation.
absolutely, absolutely. Whether you talk about kriya or meditation or
Yeah,
namaz or prayer or
yeah,
samaya in the Jain tradition or kasti
yeah,
in
yeah.
Parsis or the in the Christian tradition also, the all those are just means to keep on reminding yourself to bring your true self to the door,
Realign, realign.
to realign yourself and bring that true self to the door to greet all experience that you encounter, that
Hmm.
that so it's a way to do that. And it's one way to do that. And what we are saying in the direct path is that yes, you can do all of those, but ultimately it's a recognition. It's not a learning. It's a recognition. And uh, it's seeing who you really are and recognizing who you really are. So it's not something that needs to be practiced in that sense of the word, as if it's something that you have to become or learn or get to or reach. It's not something you have to reach. It's something to simply recognize that you are already that. So, but if it takes namaz or if it takes samay to for you to see that, then so be it. Then so be it. Uh, but it's not a requisite, and it's not the only way, and it's not certainly not something that makes you better. It only helps you to recognize that you're already that. So while we keep forgetting, having that as a daily or frequent reminder is definitely something that the separate self can engage in until it recognizes that it doesn't really need any of that, and that it is already that. It is already always only that. So until that happens, yes, it's a powerful way to go in that direction.
Yeah,
But and it's as easy as we want to make it, and it's as available as or as difficult as we decide. It's not, there's nothing that we have to wait for to do that, to begin to do that, and to more and more and more and more and more. It reminds me a little bit of that holy man story,
yeah,
where the person is greeted by this holy man,
at the door.
and there's nobody really there. All experience, all people only come in and go out the back door, untouched, untouched and unedited and and simply welcomed and move on. Welcome and move on,
Yeah,
just like that.